Let us restore trust. Let us inspire hope. And let us start right now.
Global leaders to confront global issues as high-level segment of the 76th UN General Assembly opens in New York. Nigeria's journey to COVID-19 vaccine manufacturing begins. President Buhari meets WTO DG.
In order to solve this problem, we have to produce more vaccines and then we have to distribute them.
Plus, a House of Representatives seeks exemption of police from contributory pension fund.
Those privileges that is enjoyed by the military should be enjoyed by the police.
Good evening and welcome to NTA Network News. I'm Ian Ray. John Adiola Komiakere joins me from Lagos. Thank you for joining us. The United Nations 76th General Assembly has opened in New York, with Secretary General Antonio Guterres urging world leaders to show greater commitment to multilateralism in COVID-19 pandemic preparedness, combating climate change, gender equality, as well as global peace and security. President Muhammadu Buhari is among dignitaries attending the opening session on Ngiye. Fineface reports.
World leaders arrived at the UN House Tuesday for the opening session of the 76th General Assembly, which has the theme, Building Resilience Through Hope to Recover from COVID-19, Rebuild Sustainably, Respond to the Needs of the Planet, Respect the Rights of People, and Revitalize the United Nations.
We have never been so technologically advanced. We have never been so connected. We have never had the wealth, the resources, or the know-how that we have now. There's nothing in our path to stop us but ourselves. Let us be the United Nations that people want us to be.
This is our time, a moment for transformation, an era to reignite multilateralism, an age of possibilities. Let us restore trust. Let us inspire hope, and let us start right now.
Joe Biden addressed the assembly for the first time as President of the United States.
To deliver for our own people, we must also engage deeply with the rest of the world. To ensure that our own future, we must work together with other partners, our partners, toward a shared future.
Other leaders are scheduled to address the assembly in the coming days. Onengiye Fineface, NTA News.
Still in New York, the World Trade Organization, WTO, has promised to support Nigeria in its efforts at developing the manufacture of the COVID-19 vaccines. Director General of the organization, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, made this known while speaking to newsmen after an audience with President Muhammadu Buhari on the margins of the UN General Assembly in New York. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has details.
The Director General of the World Trade Organization, Nigeria's Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, briefed President Muhammadu Buhari on the serious reforms being implemented to get the organization back on track. She solicited the support of the President in this regard, especially on some of the negotiations relating to fisheries development, health, and in particular, the battle against COVID-19.
The fact that on the African continent, less than 4% of us have been vaccinated, whereas in the rich countries, close to 58% have been vaccinated, is not something that really is good for the world. Why? Because we have all these variants that are circulating, and if you don't vaccinate people, they'll just migrate from unvaccinated to the vaccinated. So what we're saying is, in order to solve this problem, we have to produce more vaccines, and then we have to distribute them equitably to parts of the world that don't have. And that's the narrative. At the WTO, what we're doing is actually working directly with the manufacturers. We're helping them monitor their supply chains, which are very complicated, to see what are the bottlenecks they have, what are the regulatory issues they face, how can we facilitate trade. In return, we're asking them to deconcentrate production on the African continent. We don't want to continue importing 99% of vaccines that we use. We're also looking at Nigeria. We're the largest country, and His Excellency Mr. President also wants to develop manufacturing. So we want to support that. We've been working with the Honorable Minister of Health to see what we can attract, the investment we can attract to Nigeria.
Inequity in access to the COVID-19 vaccines, Dr. Okonjo-Iweala emphasized, is not acceptable.
You know, vaccines are like a public good, so they also need investment from the government to match part of what the private sector is doing. We need demand. Vaccine producers will not produce unless they know that the vaccines are going to be purchased. And so, you know, the fact if Nigeria can aggregate its demand, then that will help to persuade them to invest. And I think the Honorable Minister of Health is leading a task force of which I'm a member. The Deputy Secretary General, Amina Mohammed, is a member, Kia Adeshino, and Mohammed Pate. We're all trying to help from the outside to see how we can move things for investment.
The Director General is optimistic that within the next 2 to 3 years, the fruits of this labor will be reaped. From New York, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Meanwhile, a new partnership for development between Nigeria, Nicaragua and Bolivia is coming to fruition, with Latin America and Africa's biggest economy opening doors of opportunities to each other for mutual benefits. This was at the sideline of the United Nations General Assembly holding in New York. Foreign Desk correspondent Usman Aliyu brings us details.
This new partnership is necessary. The global pandemic has made the world to redefine social and economic development to bounce back. Talks between Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Jeffrey Onyama, and his Nicaraguan counterpart, Denis Ronaldo Moncada Colenderes, centered on how to establish binational committee for regular engagements, review and evaluate agreements. Nicaragua also asks Nigeria for a support to be an observer in the African Union, just as Nigeria offered them opportunities abound in the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. They also share experience on the impact of COVID-19 and vaccine rollout.
Our ambassador told us, and permanent representative, the solidarity and the strong support he always provides for Nigeria. So really we are very grateful for that.
Meanwhile, Bolivian Minister of Foreign Affairs Rogelio Maita also reached out to Nigeria for a new and revitalized deal, saying the 29-year relation has provided hope for an enhanced cooperation. Mining is one other key area they agree to look into. It is not only the South Americans that are on this development paradigm. Denmark also wants a pact with Nigeria in agro-business, dairy development, maritime security in the Gulf of Guinea, and conflict resolution.
Apart from the cooperation in the Gulf of Guinea, they've been very supportive of a humanitarian aspect in the northeast, Nigeria with the internally displaced and all that. And then in terms of investment, we're trying to diversify and try to attract more investment, and they have also been very good. They're a seafaring nation, a maritime nation. They have this company Maersk that's also involved in shipping goods and things, transport.
And we want to cooperate with all of the countries to also look at the root causes, fight the root causes for piracy. So we are, as a maritime nation like Nigeria, we are very occupied with safe travel at sea for our seafarers, for our ships. So that is why we are investing heavily in this.
In New York, Usman Aliyu, NTA News.
Statistics from International Labour Organization shows that 54 million women lost their jobs between 2019 and 2020 due to caregiving crisis occasioned by COVID-19 pandemic. Uche Ugochukwu reports that at the sideline of the 76th UN General Assembly in New York, champions of gender equality tabled actionable solutions.
The COVID-19 pandemic negatively affected women in all spheres. Many are out of jobs, and there are projections that 2 million more will lose their jobs this 2021. These gender equality champions are worried that despite these challenges, only 11% of policies globally address women's unpaid care at work as countries boost social protection.
The gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls is integral to all priorities. It is, in fact, the key priority in all our development efforts. To recover from COVID-19, or to accelerate and achieve the SDGs, or to ensure peaceful, prosperous societies.
They suggested that as countries gradually move from COVID-19 response to recovery, they should invest more in good social protection programs for women, caregiving, and data collection.
We need to look at this barrier and figure out what is good policy that can help women with that unpaid care so that they can do what they want and return to their jobs.
The panelists are of the view that efforts at ensuring gender equality must be prioritized for the world to achieve a holistic economic recovery. Uche Ugochukwu, NTA News.
Similarly, the United Nations Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed says the world needs to be doing better in applying the solutions to sustainable development. She said this at the Pathways and Partners Dialogue on localizing the SDGs on the sidelines of the United Nations 76th General Assembly underway in New York. Again, Onengiye Fineface brings us details.
And you're going to say to me now, what about poor people? Please don't underestimate how far people in Africa have gone with connectivity.
For the United Nations Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohammed, there's improvement in information about the Sustainable Development Goals. What is lacking, however, is the localization of the targets for positive action at individual and community levels.
Just the mobile phone alone, that you can have almost cashless societies in 1 or 2 countries with the phone. So I think things need to be scaled up. We need to do them in a hurry. We have to stop thinking poorly for the poor. Be as ambitious as you and I are privileged to be.
The SDGs are said to have the capacity to address the world's most pressing challenges.
Everybody can get covered, but we need the supplies. And then governments, local to national, around the world, make your SDG plans. Part of our job is to help you get the financing that you need. So the bottom up, the top down, let's get this done. That's the key.
To this effect, the United Nations is launching the Local 2030 initiative to create a network of global, national and local partners to facilitate innovative solutions. Onengiye Fineface, NTA News.
And in furtherance of the Sustainable Development Goals seeking to promote economic growth, social inclusion and environmental protection, governments in Africa must ensure that engaging the continent's rapidly growing youth population through jobs and other opportunities remain its central priority. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo stated this at the virtual launch of the United Nations Global Compact Africa Strategy, an initiative of the United Nations to galvanize private sector participation in the actualization of the SDGs. Africa's private sector, the Vice President said, must also scale up its contribution to the continent's economic and social transformation, stressing that as the African Continental Free Trade Agreement enters into force, African businesses have a historic opportunity to embrace sustainability and be part of the collective effort to build a more sustainable and inclusive future. It is important to ensure that all Nigerians have clear understanding of the federal government's Human Capital Development Program, objectives and its relevance. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo said this in a message at the Human Capital Development Communications Strategy Validation Meeting in Abuja. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports.
Human capital is really the most important asset that Nigeria has. And this you all know, but it's something that we have to reiterate.
And that is how the outside world see Nigeria, a nation with an estimated population of about 200 million people. Human capital is considered as Nigerians' greatest resource, but which potential is yet to be realized. And they wondered why.
Until and unless our political leaders realize the imperative of taking very difficult decisions for today, so that generations will benefit, will not make any progress.
It is time to do the right thing, even at a price, Governor El-Rufai says, and part of that is showing the political will towards investing more in education and health and other areas that can lead to human development. The unveiling of this Human Capital Development logo marks the beginning of great things to come, as the federal government, working in collaboration with all stakeholders, is determined to change the narrative.
We cannot do this quietly all the time, even though many of us would wish we could. People have to know what we are doing. Stakeholders have to be carried along, and the effect have to be so visible.
To execute this Human Capital Development Program by the National Economic Council, chaired by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, a co-working group established with a mandate to develop a national human capital development strategy.
It is not about the state, it is not about the development partners, it is about all of us. Let's have that partnership that would make this happen.
They will have health, plus education, plus skills, plus capabilities. 4 parts. Anything you do amongst those 4 things would allow you to improve human capital.
We will need to show how education pays. It is this translation and this rubbing of minds between us and our public that actually would be key.
This event by the co-working group is to unveil the communications strategy to ensure that all Nigerians fully understand the program and to own it. From the banquet hall of the State House, Jide Onifade, NT News.
Time for first. Thank you for staying. President Muhammadu Buhari has written to Senate requesting the amendment of the administrative structure of the Petroleum Industry Act, recently signed into law. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nkwo reports that the amendment bill seeks to ensure federal character principle and to strengthen the administrative machinery of the new oil sector regime.
Plenary took off with President of the Senate, Ahmad Lawan, reading executive communications from President Muhammadu Buhari. One of the presidential letters is requesting the amendment of the Petroleum Industry Act, which seeks to expand membership of the board of the 2 regulatory institutions and to exclude the ministers of petroleum resources and that of finance from the membership of the 2 institutions.
Removal of the ministers of petroleum and finance from the board of the 2 institutions. The proposed amendment will increase the membership of the board from 9 to 13 members, that is representing 44% expansion of the board size.
The president also forwarded names of 4 persons as members of the board of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, including that of George Abang Ebungu as secretary. 4 members of the board of the Upstream Regulatory Commission, with Isa Ibrahim Modibo as chairman, and also 4 persons as members of the board of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. Edaire Kogo Ogan is to serve as chairman. The National Toll-Free Emergency Number Establishment Bill, sponsored by Senator Ibikule Amosun, Sickle Cell Anemia Prevention, Control and Management Bill by Senator Sam Egu, and the Federal Orthopedic Hospital Dekina Establishment Bill, sponsored by Senator Issa Jibrin, were passed. The legal framework for the establishment of the Federal Medical Center Diba, Gombe State, sponsored by Senator Danjuma Goje, punishment of the offenses of abduction and wrongful restraint by Senator Ibikule Amosun, and the Federal College of Education, Basambiri, Bayelsa State Establishment Bill, sponsored by Senator Bia Borokuma Degeremyowo, passed 2nd reading.
To support and provide an enabling environment for medical training of personnel as the board may consider necessary.
By ensuring that recipients of any proceeds of the act of kidnapping are heavily sanctioned with terms of imprisonment of up to 30 years.
Nembe and Brass local government areas, out of the 8 local government areas, are the only local government areas without a federal educational institution, secondary or tertiary.
Senate paid tribute to late former Deputy President of the Senate, Ibrahim Mantu, and late Olabiyi Durojaye as moved by Senators Stephanus Gyang and Olalekan Mustafa. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Senate Committee on Public Accounts has advised the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, to devise an effective debt recovery scheme to ensure that it recovers debts due to the services it provided to several customers. Chairman of the committee, Matthew Orogide, who said this, also announced the vacation of queries by Office of the Auditor General to NTA from 2016 to 2018 financial year. Mobolaji Moribiring has the report.
Senate Public Accounts Committee has been inviting ministries, departments and agencies before its annual recess. At its resumed investigative hearing over queries by the Auditor General for the Federation, the Director General of the Nigerian Television Authority is before the committee to explain and clarify on issues in the year 2016 to 2018 financial report. The Director General, while acknowledging some of the infractions, noted that though inexcusable, they occurred as a result of the authority's peculiar line of business, which involves meeting deadlines.
The trade debtors arose from credit given to advertising agencies in line with the advertising practice. Efforts are already being made to recover the outstanding sums. However, most of the agencies have folded up, and we have written a series of letters to the Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria, BON, and the Advertising Practitioners Council of Nigeria, APCON.
The Director General further said that those institutions and agencies that are heavily indebted to the NTA and have consistently refused to pay will be blacklisted and will be treated on a cash and carry basis only. With the peculiarity of managing media organizations, the committee observed that the perceived infractions by the Nigerian Television Authority was for a good cause.
We're going to resolve it in your favor. On behalf of the committee, we want to respect that wish. We'll vacate that query.
The committee adjourned with expectations that more ministries, departments and agencies will appear before it. From the National Assembly, Mobolaji Moribiri, NTA News.
And still in the National Assembly, the House of Representatives is working on a legislation that would exempt the Nigeria Police Force from the contributory pension scheme. National Assembly correspondent Lamia Ali reports that the bill received overwhelming support from House members as it passed second reading.
Leading the debate on the bill, which seeks to amend Section 5, Subsection 1 of the Pension Reform Act, sponsor of the bill, Ejirogene Waive, says the act is unfair to the police.
An assistant superintendent of police, for example, gets 1.5 million, whereas his counterparts in the military, the intelligence services that are not in the scheme, get much more than that, 12.8. But the worst thing is that even at retirement, the police still don't get this meager sum under the contributory scheme.
As a CSP, Colonel equivalent, I collect 23,000 naira, Mr. Speaker. 23,000 naira after serving 15 years.
Those privileges that is enjoyed by the military should be enjoyed by the police.
It is long overdue that our policemen should be treated with dignity.
The country should be able to sacrifice whatever is required for those servicemen. And we cannot be seen to put our policemen in jeopardy.
The lawmakers also gave support to the motion from Saidu Bargaja, which urged authorities to provide relief materials to victims of insurgency at Isa and Sabon Birni in Sokoto State.
The returning in Isa and Sabon Birni Freya constituency are living in the abject poverty and suffering.
House members adopted a motion from Haruna Dederi calling for intensified efforts to prevent bandits fleeing military operations from setting up camp in other locations, as is being witnessed in boundary villages of Rogo, Kano State. The motion from Jafar Ribadu demanding the relocation of the Yola Correctional Center in Adamawa State to its new site was also adopted.
It's a lot of discomfort for the residents and visitors due to the frequent roadblock, especially in terms of rampage by inmates or anticipated attack by insurgents.
Meanwhile, the Speaker, Femi Gbajabiamila, has brought to the notice of members an executive communication seeking amendments of the Petroleum Industry Act recently signed into law. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Elsewhere, the federal government says it's constantly reviewing its domestic laws to identify changes required to bring the digital economy to taxation in the country. Musa Abubakar reports that Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, said this at a policy dialogue by West African Tax Administration Forum in Abuja.
From 5 to 15 countries, West African Tax Administration Forum WATAF is growing from strength to strength. It's now 10 years of added value to tax administration in Africa, and members here are looking to the future.
There is an ongoing debate in the country about responsibilities of tax administration. We'll begin to learn from global best practices adopted by other countries, and also hope that you will gain something from our experiences thus far.
This high-level policy dialogue is exploring alternative sources of tax with a focus on the growing digital economy, which many see as untapped revenue Africa could use to drive sustainable development.
It is incumbent on all of us to find solutions to tackle the challenges that the digital economy brings with it. This forum has provided the right platform for dialogue among national tax authorities.
This special General Assembly of Tax Administrators in the West African sub-region provides a unique opportunity for frank and forthright discussions on how best we can protect our interests and maximize our benefits, not just as individual countries, but as a regional bloc.
With the simplification of tax remittances through deployment of tax pro and the resultant efficiency, the service is geared towards recording increased collection rates.
The forum is to explore emerging technology solutions for tax compliance and global issues in taxation of digital economy, with the hope of coming up with far-reaching resolutions. In Abuja, I am Musa Abubakar, NTA News.
Increasing the allocation and implementation of projects designed for women's economic empowerment is key to transforming the nation's critical sector. This is the major focus at the inauguration of the Technical Working Group by the Federal Ministry of Budget in collaboration with the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, supported by the Development, Research and Project Center in Abuja. Benny Adams reports.
When you talk of policy implementation, monitoring and evaluation is a very important component of it.
Funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Technical Working Group is expected to support the accountability process of piloting the application of monitoring and evaluation framework on women's economic empowerment programs in Nigeria.
We have to look at those policies, program and project, and then identify, some key performance indicators that will highlight, whether those things, will be achieved and what we are aspiring for, and then disaggregate whatever information we get, within the perspective of to what extent, have they empowered women.
From CBN and many organizations are saying, oh, we have money for this, we have monies for that, we have projects for this, we have projects for that. But if you ask them specifically in terms of gender disaggregated data, these things are completely missing. So the technical working group will be able to monitor that to ensure that by number, we understand how many women are benefiting. We also ensure that the impact that these projects are meant to have, that they really achieve it, and that they are affecting women real time, ensuring that there's safety, security, etc. in the business environment for women.
The Technical Working Group comprises of 20 monitoring and evaluation officers from 10 ministries and departments, as well as 20 civil society organizations working in the area of women's economic development. Benny Adams, NTA News.
Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed says the latest approach in combating banditry by states troubled by activities of these criminals should be applauded rather than playing up sentiments against such state governors. The minister stated this when he led journalists to Katsina. Anthony Forsen reports.
The visit is to give journalists an opportunity to get first-hand information on efforts of the Katsina state government and other affected states in the northwest, strategies being adopted that has succeeded in cracking down the bandits.
Yes, sir, we are not in any doubt that some of the measures we have embarked upon have started yielding fruits. However, Your Excellency, it's unfortunate that the media is not giving the same attention to the turn of events as they've been giving to the activities of the bandits. We believe that these efforts deserve to be trumpeted.
The minister called on Nigerians to see the crackdown on criminal elements in the society as a responsibility of all and not government alone.
Because it will encourage the state governors, the government, the stakeholders, our emirs, and everybody involved. It will also encourage our security personnel who daily make the ultimate sacrifice to keep us safe.
Governor Aminu Bello Masari explained that the vicious crackdown on bandits in the state has become necessary.
The issues here of banditry, especially Katsina, Zamfara, Sokoto, Kebbi, part of Niger, part of Kaduna State, has no religious problem, no tribal, no any problem. So if you take whatever action, nobody will say and complain to you or religious or tribal ground. We are the same people, same language, same culture, same tradition. We have suddenly become enemies of each other. The good ones on this part and the bad ones on the other part. You say human right, whose right? Right of 10 against the right of 1? I wish Nigerian Bar Association is here, because they are the ones very quick to find ways of bailing out non-bandits. And when they go back to their community, they unleash terror on the community. I think this issue of addressing issue of security is everybody's responsibility.
Emir of Katsina, Abdulmumin Kabir Usman, commended Governor Masari's will to authorize a total crackdown on the bandits and ensure the state is rid of notorious criminal elements. In Katsina, Anthony Forsen, NTA News.
And away from Katsina now, President Muhammadu Buhari joins the entertainment industry in Nigeria and world over, particularly performing at his in celebrating with legendary juju singer, songwriter and multi-instrumentalist Chief Sunday Adeniyi Adegeye, aka King Sani Ade, on his 75th birthday on September 22nd, 2021. The president extols the courage, foresight and innovative spirit of the music artist who has since graduated into an authority in the literary and theatrical world, sharing his talent as a visiting professor of music at Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, and championing many development causes. President Buhari believes King Sani Ade's several nominations for the Grammy, being the first Nigerian for such recognition, brought the spotlight on Nigeria's multi-talented artists, creating opportunities for many nominations and an eventual win that further boosted the country's image among Committee of Nations. President Buhari prays for longer life and God's blessings on his family. Now time to pause here in Abuja and let Adiola feed us from Lagos. Adiola, it's over to you.
Thank you, Nyere. The Nigerian Navy says it is working on improving the quality and scope of its operations by encouraging regular manpower development for its personnel. Chief of the Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Awal Gambo, stated this at the closing ceremony of the Naval Engineering Retreat 2021 in Lagos. Hengino John Adams reports.
This convergence is not all about combat on the high sea. It is a gathering of engineers who, though attired in Navy uniforms, are focused on how to sustain the contribution of the engineering section of the Nigerian Navy towards attaining service goals. One of such is requisite maintenance intervention to ensure ships' availability, equipped serviceability, and a well-motivated workforce. The 2 days of brainstorming for engineers, seamen, and logisticians identified critical focus areas.
The discussions in the retreat also revealed the need to make pragmatic and essential changes to the career development of engineers and technicians, as well as engineering practices. It is envisaged that these changes will elicit the needed stimulus to reposition the branch for enhanced productivity.
Their intensive engagement gave birth to implementable suggestions and recommendations.
We need to establish fleet maintenance command, review of the technical training policy, as well as the Nigerian Naval Engineering College training curriculum to address industrial attachments.
The Chief of the Naval Staff also inspected a ship under construction. Yes. Knowledge acquired during the conference is expected to leave an imprint on the quality of service and interventions going forward. In Lagos, Hingino John Adams, NTA News.
And still talking security, as the Nigerian Armed Forces continue to make appreciable progress in war against insurgencies and banditry, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahaya, says efforts are being intensified to enhance the Nigerian Army capability to repel unexpected attacks on its various formations across the country. He stated this when he paid a courtesy visit on Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu at the State House in Marina, Lagos. Musa Toliat completes the report.
Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahaya, is seeking collaborative efforts between the Army and state governments to strengthen capabilities of its formations across the country.
We are always committed and willing to do our very best to make sure that the security is enhanced across the state and all for the Army, I will say across the country. We are doing other operational activity in other parts of the country, and that's why now the synergy is required between the Army, other services, other agencies, including other stakeholders, so that we can enhance our operations.
Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu assured the Army boss that Lagos State government will always render support to security agencies in the state, adding that security is germane to economic development of the country.
We see this nation as a nation for all of us, as a place where we all need to have ourselves and continue to work in unity, in peace and in progress. The state government will continue, to render support that is required, to render assistance as and when due to all of the various security architecture that we have in Lagos to ensure that Lagos continue to remain safe, remain secure, and peaceful for our citizens.
The Chief of Army Staff is taking a tour of Army formations across the country to assess their combat readiness and render capability support where needed. In Lagos, Musa Toliat, NTA News.
Those are stories from Lagos. The news will continue after this break with Nyere in Abuja. Stay with us.
The Honorable Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, cordially invites the general public to a special town hall meeting to address the vandalization of power and telecommunications infrastructure in the country. Date, Thursday, 23rd September 2021. Venue, Banquet Hall, Government House, Maiduguri, Borno State. Time, 10 a.m. Chief host, His Excellency Professor Babagana Umar Zulum, Executive Governor of Borno State. Announcer, Dr. Mrs. Ifoma Ayan Otaku, Permanent Secretary, Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Glad to have you back. For almost 12 hours yesterday, residents of Birni Kebbi in Kebbi State were gripped in apprehension and uncertainty following the sudden loss of MTN signal. A development that left many asking questions owing to the current situation in the neighboring states of Zamfara, Sokoto and Katsina. Abdul Jalil Muhammad Bawa has an update on the situation.
Between the hours of 10 to 11 yesterday, those climbed with MTN as their GSM service provider without any notice found their network off, a development that put them in serious discomfort and anxiety. Some of them who are yet to come to terms with the development have this to say.
I feel bad. Since 11 a.m. I want to communicate with my families, with my business friends, but I can't communicate with them.
We cannot make call and we are just realizing no network, nothing.
Many were asked what they think could be responsible for the sudden loss of the signal.
Without any problem, they can't just cease communication like that. Maybe there is problem. That's why they see.
We thank God for the situation we find ourselves. So it's because it is a time, it will go.
Attempt to speak with officials of the MTN communication company in Birni Kebbi was not successful, as they declined, saying they have to get approval from their headquarters before commenting. However, the network was restored at about 9 p.m. yesterday. In Birni Kebbi, Abdul Jalil Muhammad Bawa, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Sokoto State government, in collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy, are to block the telecommunications services in 14 local government areas to further check the activities of bandits and other collaborators in the state. A statement by the Special Advisor to the State Governor on Media and Publicity, Muhammad Bello, says this follows the containment order approved 3 weeks ago, which closed some roads, markets, suspension of trading and transportation in animals, petroleum products in jerry cans, among others. Also suspended are movement of more than 3 persons on motorcycles and tricycles as dusk to dawn curfew in the affected local governments. Time for another break. Stay.
Job creation, skill acquisition, and innovation among Nigerian teeming youth, and access to credit facilities by the present administration. Part 2. That is our focus on NTA Tuesday Live this week, bridging the gap of unemployment and strengthening poverty reduction in Nigeria. Tuesday Live, every week at 10:30 p.m. It promises to be incisive and educative. Don't miss it.
Mommy is ready to receive me a bundle of joy. Mommy is making my home cleaner and safer. We are Dettol, Dettol Sure.
Illnesses can happen at home too. That's why Dettol and me together will make my baby's home safe and to protect from up to 100 illness-causing germs. That's why moms want to be Dettol, Dettol Sure.
We are Dettol, Dettol Sure.
Title chasing, Manchester United will have to overcome one more hurdle when they welcome Aston Villa to Old Trafford. Will it continue to be their theatre of dreams, or can Aston Villa throw a spanner in their works? This Saturday, it's Manchester United versus Aston Villa on the Premier League Live, showing on the network service of the NTA from 12 p.m. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Baba Ijebu and powered by Integral.
This na the story of Pekin, we rise to the max. Rain or shine, it not settle for less. Na the story of small boy we get big talent. Home and away. Wait to, it be like say na the story of one man we fall, but we bounce back in style.
Osime, wetin dey motivate you? I want day big, special and great.
Touching us live from Big Brother House Studio.
Joy for Osim and his teammates. A chuffed for him as well.
Make we enjoy Max Entertainment together.
Sports or movies, telenovela or cartoon, music or reality TV. With just 6,900 naira, you fit get your Go TV decoder plus 1 month Max subscription. Make you enjoy over 75 channels with for Go TV Max. Make you and your special ones enjoy better things on Max levels. Go TV, love it.
Let's have a bit of sports now with Badi Adeleye.
Many thanks, Yeri. Let's begin with football. Bayana of South Africa have won the 2021 Aisha Buhari Cup after defeating Super Falcons of Nigeria 4-2 in the last fixture of the Six Nation tournament on Tuesday. South Africa took the lead in the 6th minute through an own goal after Michel Alozie sent the ball into our own net. They doubled the lead from the penalty spot in the 19th minute through Linda Mothalo, following a handball by Onomebe. With a minute left in the first half, they got their thought of a header from Gabriela Sagago after the Falcons failed to clear their lines. The Falcons came out more determined in the second half and pulled a goal back through Vivian Ikechukwu to make it 3-1. She got another in the 53rd minute through a long-range strike, but it was the South Africans who had the last laugh as they extended their lead from the penalty spot in the 86th minute to seal a 4-2 win. Moving on, the 2021 Southwest Games has been flagged off in Abeokuta. The sporting fiesta known as Sowega 2021 will feature 12 sports including athletics, football, chess, Scrabble, basketball and volleyball, with sportsmen and women from tertiary institutions and security agencies in the Southwest set to participate. The Games will officially open at the MKO Abiola Stadium on Tuesday, September 28 by 12 noon. And finally, Nigerian-born British fighter Anthony Joshua has warned that he has primed multiple hurtful punches for Alexander Usyk, whether it is the right hand, the uppercut or the jab. Joshua and Usyk briefly stepped into the ring on Tuesday night at the public workouts without giving away too many secrets ahead of Saturday's fight. Recall that IBF, WBA and WBO champion Joshua was deep in talks to face WBC title holder Tyson Fury until negotiations dramatically broke down. If Joshua beats Usyk and Fury again defeats Deontay Wilder on October the 9th, an undisputed heavyweight title fight could be revived. Well, we cannot wait till Saturday. All right, that does it on sports. It's back to Yeri.
Thank you, Badi. And that concludes Network News tonight. Many thanks for watching. Please remember, rape is a crime. And from the crew, it's good night.